act. So today Israel bombed Qatar. They said the reason they were bombing it was in retaliation, and they're contradicting themselves here. They say it's in retaliation for the October 7th attack in 2023, and also in retaliation to Hamas for 2 days ago, the shooting in Israel. As soon as that shooting happened in Israel, I knew that it was a what do they call those things? A false flag attack. That's a false flag, just to give them an excuse to continue projecting power in that region. So now what they did was they bombed Qatar. They killed 5 people, including one of the people who was there negotiating for a ceasefire in Israel. So they killed.
They didn't kill him. They only killed 5 junior delegates. They didn't kill the chief negotiators. They did that in Iran. They made a point of saying they killed one of their sons.
Okay, so we all know this is what Israel does. We don't even need to argue that they're wrong or right or that they're making excuses. We know that they're a terrorist nation, and there's no reasoning with them. They just do things arbitrary. They did this because they can. But the focus of today's show is that I put 90% of the blame on Qatar, not the people, the government. The government is in bed with the U.S. They are propped up by the U.S., protected by the U.S. They're protected by a country which is funding Israel to do its genocide in Gaza. And on our show, we've continually said that by being in bed with America, the Gulf states and the Emirates and all of these countries are actually part of America's empire and hegemony, which means they're part of a system which is anti-Arabic, which is also anti-Semitic, if you know the true meaning of the word Semitic, which is genocidal, and which ultimately is going to work to destroy them as well. Because the only reason they exist is because of their oil and their strategic alliances, like having them have U.S. base. Qatar has a U.S. base. They allow Americans to have a base in their country. Now, going back, remember a month ago, Kunle, when Iran struck back, remember when Iran struck a U.S. base in Qatar, and they called America ahead of time and said, we're going to strike your base. It was basically staged just to make them look good because the U.S. had bombed them, and they used the Qatar base. So that means that, can you imagine the leader of Qatar and the U.S. tells you, ahead of time, they're going to strike our base. And the only thing you do afterwards is say, oh, this is wrong. The only response that Qatar had was, this is wrong. Iran shouldn't be doing this. And then they brokered an agreement. If the U.S. had told Israel, we're going to do a stage bombing on your land and everything, Israel would have retaliated. Qatar didn't retaliate. And now they're up in arms saying that they have to meet with the other Arab states because Israel's out of hand. So all I'm trying to say is, oh, you didn't know they were out of hand. For the past 20 years, you haven't known. You're in bed with the U.S. That means you're in bed with Israel, and you know what Israel does. So all I'm saying is that I'm going to continue saying this week after week. The Arab nations, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, all of them are to blame when now the arms of Israel and the U.S. strike on them, because we know what America is, and they've been aiding and abetting a terrorist nation, which is unfolding a genocide right now. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, these Arab nations are all puppet states. They're all totalitarian puppet states. And these puppets are actually pretty much controlled by the Western governments. These countries are not democracies, and they pretty much do whatever they're told, or try to do whatever they're told. And what they don't realize, and the reason why is that the level of expediency. If you look at Iraq was an ally of the West.
Yes.
Sorry. And look what happened to them. So being an ally does not, sorry, excuse me, it's the beer. Being an ally doesn't guarantee that you're not going to be attacked. Now, what was interesting about this attack was that the Qataris said that they were not given any forewarning, that it's not true that they were forewarned. Trump is playing 2 games. He's saying it's not good on one level, then on another level, he's trying to justify it, which is totally destroying the small credibility, that's left. And this is compounded by the fact that it's happening just after a weekend where the UN has gone to meet in Geneva, it's planning to have meetings in Geneva on recognizing Palestine, because America is not allowing Iranian delegates into the UN in America, and it's not allowing Palestinian delegates in. And so therefore the UN has had to move outside of America because America seems to have lost its ability to act for the United Nations. And these two things have happened at about the same time. It's extremely noticeable. I'm very surprised. I mean, I look at BBC, CNN, and Sky, and there's no mention whatsoever on BBC and CNN and Sky about these movements of the UN to Geneva. It's
once again, let's stay on point. So let's stay on point. So what we're saying here, what I'm saying here is that this is a strike on Qatar. Qatar is supposed to be a neutral ground where Hamas and they were doing negotiations. Israel strikes and kills the negotiator, or tries to kill the head negotiator and everything else. And on the next level, I mean, and then at the same time, the U.S. will say that they're trying to broker a peace treaty. This is proof that Israel does not want peace, because you tried to kill a peace negotiator. This is something that people around the world need to look at. So there's no point in holding peace negotiations, because every time we hold peace negotiations, they did the same thing with Iran. They killed the Iranians. They've killed several Iranians, General Soleimani, then just a couple of months ago, who want to do peace treaties. So what I'm saying is that the West, this is also to the West, not just Qatar now and Arabic countries, it's a lie when they tell you they want to do peace treaties. Because if you want to do peace treaties, why do you keep on killing the negotiators? And you say it's because they are terrorists. Even if you want to do a negotiation with terrorists, if you say that you want to negotiate with them and then you kill them, it means you don't want to negotiate. What's his name? Bibi wants to keep this war going on in perpetuity. And the U.S. wants to, too. Trump says that he's angry about this, but he's not doing anything, because all he has to do is cut the funding. Now, let's get back. What are your thoughts on that point before we get back to the Arab nations? Sorry, Kulin.
The attack is because Israel simply does not want the talks to continue. And the attacks have brought an abrupt end. There's no more talks.
So does that mean then, if they don't want the talks to continue, in order for there to be a peace treaty between Israel and Palestine, don't both groups have to agree that they want to have a treaty and they want a ceasefire?
Yes.
This means Israel doesn't want a ceasefire. So America's wasting its time by talking. It's just like talking to Ukraine about a ceasefire between Russia, but you're not involving Russia in the negotiation. Go ahead. Yeah,
that was the aim of the strike. The aim of the strike was to end any peace talks, or to make it seem like they have to start again and look for another mediator or whatever. They just wanted to end the peace talks. They don't want peace talks.
I would argue that everybody can see power, because I would say that even if the peace talks go, if Israel doesn't sign them, then it doesn't matter anyway. So they really don't have a motive to even end it, because they're going to continue. I think that they did it just to project power. And also,
Israel also said they plan to strike again.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, so we don't need to prolong this. Yeah, we don't need to prolong this. Let's just go back to what the main point is and finish it up. So my main point being, like you said, Saddam Hussein used to be a friend of America. They used him, and then when they didn't need him anymore, they had him executed. These Arab nations, what they're doing is, because of their oil money and all these propped up leaders in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Jordan and UAE, all of them are propped up, and they're selling out the Middle East. And they're even selling out the security of their own people for money and power. Okay. And I'll go back to it again. Qatar was bombed when Iran sent missiles there in retaliation to the U.S. and the U.S. base. So Qatar was bombed because of its relationship to the U.S., and they were forewarned about that one, and they let it happen, and they didn't retaliate in any way. And what I mean by retaliate, they can't retaliate militarily, they should have threatened, along with other Gulf nations, to stop selling oil to the West. That's what they need to do. But by not weaponizing oil, they've made themselves more and more and more America's vassal and America's bitch, so that what you will see in the future is more strikes on their nations and their people. Like you said, it's not their people's fault. Their people, near a school apartment, that's where rich children live. That area was bombed by Israel. So this is a message to you people in the Arabic nations who have totalitarian governments, and you're not fighting back at them. You just got bombed yesterday, and you're going to see it more and more. There may even be a day in the future in which you see America and Israel bombing the Saudi nations. Once they say, "Oh, we don't like the leader of Saudi; he's bad, he's a terrorist," they'll kill him, and they'll bomb your nation if they can. And if you continue to let Israel grow, America might just say, "Why doesn't Israel just take over the whole Middle East?" except for Iran. And see, Iran is safer than Saudi Arabia as far as I'm concerned, because when Israel bombed Iran, what did Iran do a couple of months ago, Kunle? They bombed the fuck out of them, right? So
Right.
Iran and Syria have shown that they fight back. What they fight and they defend themselves, and they're not retractable. We all know the Arab states such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of them, they bend over for America. So it'll be easier for America and Israel to take them because they can't take Iran. And they've already taken them because their leaders, the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and them are actually basically governors, and America is the king, and America is actually the ruler. Sort of like when the British sent governors to Nigeria, or they could hire one black person in Nigeria to govern the country, but they're really the ones governing it. What are your thoughts on that? Just about that point about this is a boomerang that's coming back on the Middle East, on the Gulf states. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Gulf states are what they're facing. The problem with what they're facing, to my mind, is that they're a bit powerless to respond to it because the military bases, the biggest military bases in Qatar. If Qatar were now to decide, or the Arab states were now to decide, we're going to stop selling oil, or we're going to shut down oil, what would be the reaction of America, given that they have so much military power in these countries? They could hijack, all these countries to.
Yeah, they would hijack. They'd have to put in another leader, though.
With the amount of firepower they could just turn on them. That's a possibility.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this. There's no easy way to say this because it's going to involve a lot of death. Because in order for liberation, there has to be war and death. If these states decide not to bow to the U.S. can do all the bombing and everything they want. After a while, it'll be a logistical nightmare, and those countries will win, just like Vietnam won. But it would require carnage, and I don't think anybody wants that. But my thing is that they have to put their foot down now because they're giving too much liberty to people. They need to
expel those forces.
Right now, I don't care what America says. I don't care what America says. What they need to do now is say one more strike, because you can't do it yet. You can't protect one more strike of Israel on our land, and we are going to cut all oil that goes to Israel, and we're going to help any country to stop it because this is illegal. Then if Israel does it again, they have to do what they mean. Iran made a lot of sacrifices to stand up to Israel. They've lost hundreds of scientists. They've lost dozens of leaders. They've had people killed. Iran was bombed. They've made a big sacrifice to stand up to the West. And the Gulf nations need to do the same, and they can do it. They won't do it, and they're going to continue going down the road. But we know where this is going to end. This is going to end with Israel eventually continuing to ramp up its attack on these states. They won't do it to Saudi Arabia, thank God for Saudi Arabia, but they're going to continue to ramp up on Qatar because they're trying to take more land. And the next thing you know, they'll take part of Qatar. They'll say, the edge of this area. But Qatar is not linked beside Israel, are they? No. They're not linked.
No. They're not.
No, they're not. Are they beside Syria? So, but what they'll do is
Qatar is relatively safely far away enough. You have to pass a few countries to get to Qatar.
Oh yeah, so they won't do that. But what they'll do is that they'll continue muscling them and just sort of like having fun with them and bombing them, because they have no air. They have no air. They don't have missiles. They don't have a missile defense system.
All their weapons are American, so I mean they won't work.
Yeah. So basically, we know what that was. That's just a message to Qatar that actually U.S. and Israel control your country 100%. That's all I have to say.
Exactly. That's what it is.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Before they even decide about removing the oil, the first act that they would have to do would be to expel all the U.S. military bases from their country and look for ways to rearm themselves without having to be reliant on America. Then at that point, they can now start talking about freezing oil, because if they freeze oil, there's nothing to stop this U.S. and America. No, I don't trust them. They just go into those countries and overrun them. They could just do that. So even if you're going to do that, you have to make sure there's no boots on the ground that can rip your country to pieces. So you first of all have to expel America and American military bases from the Middle East. Then you can take those steps after.
And at the end of the day, let me be honest with you. At the end of the day, they've already sold themselves to the West, and they'll never be able to break free of the West because they don't have populations like Iran does. Iran has millions of people. These are small countries. So at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I don't feel sorry for them, because to say that Israel is bombing Qatar is really just to say Israel is bombing America, as strange as that sounds, if you know what I mean. You get my point.
I was still be angry. Yeah, I was still be angry as a Qatari.
I'm not angry because they're an ally of America. That's all.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean, it was like in the highbrow area. So it's like imagine someone that's your so-called ally. Imagine Ghana bombing ShopRite or somewhere near you.
Yeah.
You know,
And here's another
and then they
question.
say,
And
oh,
here's
it's
another
politics.
question. And here's another question. Very quickly, Hamas is a useless organization. Why would you go and meet with these people here? Hamas needs to break off all meetings with these people too. That's why I still think Hamas is just an agent of the U.S. anyway. Well, why are they meeting
But
for
Hamas
ceasefire?
has agreed to the deals. It's America that has changed their
Yeah,
mind. They don't
but
want
I
the
mean,
deal.
Hamas needs to wake up.
Israel, sorry.
Hamas needs to wake up because it's clear that Israel will never agree to a ceasefire. They will never, never. And 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 then they had the nerve to say, well, France had the nerve to say we condemn this action because it makes it. No, Germany said we condemn Israel bombing Qatar, not because it stops the Gaza movement, not because it hurts Gaza. They said because it means that it makes it more difficult. It makes it more unlikely that Israeli hostages won't be released. Do you see how Germany talks?
That hostage argument now that is being argued
No,
in the
no,
West
but the
has
Germans
become
care about
so
the
patently
hostages. They
absurd
don't care
to
about
me.
Israel. They care about the hostages. I mean, they don't care about Gaza. They said,
They
oh,
care about they're killing hundreds of thousands of people,
those
and then
hostages
they're
will
talking
never
about
see.
a
Those hostages
handful of
will never
human
see the light
beings.
of day. Those hostages will never see the light of day.